let's proceed now to the confidence interval for a proportion. Okay, so how do we determine the confidence interval if the given is a proportion? Okay, first, when the sample size n is sufficient large, so meaning your sample size and then your sample proportion is greater than 5, and then the other one is less than 5, confidence interval for the population proportion P can be constructed similar procedure. Okay, similar procedure as the confidence interval for the population mean mu. Okay, so similar lang yung procedure for the population mu, and then for the population proportion in getting their confidence interval, they are similar. Okay, so similar. The only difference is the symbol. The only difference is the symbol. So since we're talking about population proportion, instead of using mu as your population mean, we need to change it to P because we're talking about population proportion. So for the confidence interval for a proportion, okay, how do we write the confidence interval? So P for population proportion is greater than sample proportion minus the margin of error, but less than sample proportion plus the margin of error. Okay, the only difference is the symbol, but the procedure is similar. Are they the same procedure? And then for the margin of error, okay, so that will be z alpha over 2 multiplied by p hat multiplied by the square root of p hat multiplied by 1 minus p hat over n. Okay, so to determine the margin of error, okay, where the maximum error is, that will be z alpha over 2 multiplied by the square root of p hat times 1 minus p hat over n. Okay, so that's for confidence interval for a proportion. Okay, example number 1. The laundry soap industry conducted a market research survey on a consumer preference in Metro Manila. The survey showed that 138 out of 300 persons preferred the laundry powder brand Olya. Number 1. What is the best point estimate for the true proportion of consumers preferring Olya in Metro Manila and find the standard error? Number 2. Construct a 99% confidence interval for the proportion of consumers in Metro Manila that prefer Olya. Number 3. If less than 50% of the consumers prefer Olya, the industry is planning to increase its advertising budget for this project. Is there a need to increase its advertising budget for this brand? Why? Okay, so in number 1 example, first and foremost, we need to identify what are the given. Okay, what are the given? So your sample units is 138 and your sample size is 300. Okay, meaning your sample size is 300. Out of 300, there are 138 persons who preferred the laundry powder brand Olya. Okay, so number 1, what is the best point estimate for the true proportion? When we say best point estimate, you are referring to sample proportion. So sample proportion denoted by p hat is equal to x over n. So your x is 138 over 300. So your p hat, get a calculator. So you need to get a calculator. So you do have 138 divided by 300. So that will be 0.46, or that will be 46%. Okay? Next, number 2. Okay. So for the standard error, another term for standard error is the standard deviation of the sample proportion. So that will be equal to the square root of p hat multiplied by 1 minus p hat over n. So your p hat is 0.46 or 0.46. Okay. And then your 1 minus p hat, so that will be 1 minus 0.46. So that will be 0.54 over 300. Okay. So to determine the standard error, that will be square root 0.46 multiplied by 0.54 divided by 300. So your standard error is 0.03. Okay, so that's your standard error, 0.03. Next, number 2. Construct a 99% confidence interval. Okay. So how do we construct a 99% confidence interval? So first, we need to apply the concept. So interval, that will be the population proportion is greater than sample proportion minus the margin of error, but less than sample proportion plus the margin of error. We already have sample proportion. So what's missing? Missing is the margin of error, which is E. So first we need to look for E. So E is equal to Z alpha over 2 multiplied by the square root of 1, multiplied by the square root of P hat times 1 minus P hat over N. Okay? P hat multiplied by 1 minus P hat over N. But we need to determine the Z alpha over 2. Z alpha over 2. So how do we determine the Z alpha over 2? Remember that the given is 99%. 99%. So we need to look for alpha. So how do we determine the alpha? 1 minus 0.99. Okay, 1 minus 0.99. So your alpha will be 1 minus 0.99. So that would be 0.01. 0.01. So your Z alpha over 2 will become 0.01 divided by 2 is the same as Z alpha. So 0.01 divided by 2. So that will become 0.005. Okay, so 0.005. That will be your Z alpha over 2 is the same as Z 0.01 over 2. So how do you get 0.01? Alpha is equal to 1 minus 0.99. Where do you get 0.99? In your 99%. Okay, so your alpha will be 0.01. So Z alpha over 2 is the same as Z 0.01 divided by 2, which is the same as Z 0.05. Z 0.005. So what is the value of Z 0.005? So using the table, using the table, so this is the table for the confidence level. So Z 0.005 is equal to 2.575. 2.575. So that's the value of Z 0.005. Now, we can now solve for the margin of error. So that would be 2.575 multiplied by, what is your What is your sample proportion? Sample proportion is 0.46. So 0.46 multiplied by 1 minus your sample proportion, which is 0.54 over n, which is 300. So you get your calculator and then input the number. So we do have 2.575 multiplied by the square root of 0.46 times 0.54 divided by 300. So your margin of error is 0.07. Okay? 0.07. So that is our margin of error, 0.07. Okay. So we can now write the interval. So that will be population proportion is greater than sample proportion minus the margin of error, but less than sample proportion plus the margin of error. So population proportion is greater than, you already have the value of sample proportion, which is 0.46 minus your margin of error, which is 0.07, okay, but less than 0.46 plus 0.07. Okay, so your interval will be population proportion is greater than, get the calculator, 0.46 minus 0.07. So you do have 0.39 but less than 0.46 plus 0.07. So that will be 0.53. Okay? So your interval will be population proportion is greater than 0.39 but less than 0.53. Okay? Next, number 3. The question for number 3, if less than 50% of the consumer prefer Olia, the industry is planning to increase its advertising budget for this product. Is there a need to increase its advertising budget for this brand? Why? Before we answer number 3, we need to conclude that 99% confidence interval for the proportion of consumers in Metro Manila that prefer Olia is between 0.39 or 39% and 0.53. 0.53. Between 0.39 and 0.53. Okay? So let's proceed now to number 3. So for number 3, answer, since 50% is contained in the 99% confidence interval, okay? So your 99% confidence interval is between 39 to 53%. Okay. Then the true proportion of consumers prepare Olia laundry powder in Metro Manila is not significantly different from 50%. Thus, there's no need to increase the advertising budget for this brand. Okay, because the 50% is in between the range, which is 39% to 53%. Okay.